I overcooked something in the middle of service at one of the places I've worked in. My head chef threw a pan of hot oil at me with scallops in, and then threw me off service and made me clean the walk-in freezer for 2 hours without a coat on. You know, you do sometimes need a bit of harsh treatment to get the best out of people, but there's harsh treatment and then there's frying pans of hot oil kind of treatment. There's a difference.
I presume at the time your self-esteem was quite low. So
didn't have any. I didn't know what that was.
There was a tipping point for you.
So I remember as clear as day, the whole room started to spin and then I passed out. And then I was taken into the medical room. They said to me that you were very, very close to having a heart attack. Yes, I'm a hypnotherapist, but I don't hypnotize people. There are hypnotists, but I don't hypnotize people. It's very much like this. It's a conversation. This career for me now is not a job. It's not a job. It's not work. It's only work if you don't like it.
Yeah, your biggest pain ends up becoming your biggest purpose.
100%.
Sometimes.
If I saw my old boss now, I'd probably say thank you.
Sometimes the moment everything falls apart is the moment where you finally start living your own life. My guest today is Joshua Samuels, a cognitive hypnotherapist who spent over 15 years working in kitchens before changing directions entirely. If you find value in this one, support the mission, please kindly subscribe and leave a review. It helps the show grow, and that means that we can reach more men navigating that messy middle of growth and becoming more self-led. Thank you so much. I'm Harrison, and this is the Growth Voyage Podcast. Enjoy.
Yeah, the red light's on. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, most welcome. For a bit of background then, what I'm really keen to learn is, who were you before you became a hypnotherapist?
So before I retrained as a cognitive hypnotherapist, I was a professional chef for coming up to 15 and a half years. So I was an apprentice up at the Oxo Tower. I was there for 2.5 years. I then moved on to work at the Gilbert Scott by Marcus Ware, and I was there for about 18 months. Moved on to a restaurant in Mayfair called Scott's, owned by Caprice Holdings. I then left there. That was kind of where I found on my first hit of bad mental health, where wondering whether I wanted to do it anymore. Situational circumstances that were happening inside the restaurant, for me personally, just didn't quite fit. But then the pastry chef that I worked with up at the Oxo Tower was trying to get me to go to where I ended up working, a place called Caravan in King's Cross. And that for me was where I really found family, really found unity. It was great there. I absolutely loved my time there. And that was probably the happiest I ever was inside a professional kitchen.
Interesting. Okay. So it seems to be quite a jump there. So you've gone from like a worst period in terms of mental health, and then it seems like you found this new place which kind of lights a spark underneath you. So when we look back at this period where mental health started to dissipate a bit, what do you think it was there? Do you think it was a sense of your external environment? It wasn't quite matching up to your expectations. Maybe you were dissatisfied with how you felt within yourself, or what? Talk to me about like that period then. Like, what were the emotions coming up for you at this time?
Well, the difference between where I was at Scott's and where I was at Caravan, it was just, I think I went to Caravan for the right reasons. I feel like I left my job previous to Scott's too early. That was the hardest of my young career. at that point. And I just think that when you find a place that just clicks, you just know. And I was very much an outsider. And that's for me there. It was, I couldn't break into any of the friend groups. So for me, it was a case of just survive. And then one day I just couldn't do it anymore, and I just didn't go in, and that was it. So then I left there, and that's when I went to Caravan in King's Cross.
Well, that's interesting, because I think we can get so attached to an idea, as you suggested. So you've left your previous place, you've gone there, new environment, you struggle to find your friendship group. I think what's really interesting about that is that I think there's always a determination within us to make something work, and we stick at it. And, even if something doesn't work out the first time, we might just keep going and then hope things transpire. But it sounds like at some point you just didn't even have the capacity anymore. You didn't even want to turn up. Talk to me about that. Was that just a physical, like, I can't even get out of bed for this. Like, this isn't, like, nothing's pulling me there? Or was it like a feeling that you just didn't belong, and that just kept on, maybe you were like pushing that down and that came to the surface? Like, how did that all transpire, you reckon?
Well, I think it was just a case of, again, the lack of belonging and my purpose. Again, that will come up quite a bit in this conversation for me. The word purpose is paramount in everything that I do and everything that I want to do in my life. And this was only the start of my mental health struggles inside a kitchen. I just didn't really know it at a time. I was having problems with my stomach. I've got Crohn's disease. So it kind of coincided with not knowing what was going on, going from consultant to consultant. Oh, you've just got IBS. You go into A&E, being turned away 3 or 4 times, and not knowing what was going on. So not only did I struggle mentally at the time, and I didn't really know how to process it. I was only 20 or 21 years old. And having the physical aspect as well isn't something that I was really used to. And then naturally, when you're in the kitchen, you're doing all those hours, doing things that you shouldn't, taking things that you shouldn't. And just not looking back now in hindsight, not really being able to process how I was actually feeling at the time.
You mentioned taking things that you shouldn't be taking. What do you mean by that?
So when I was a little bit younger, so just before I moved on from that place, I got into taking MDMA because that for me was an escape. So I left. So when I first went into the kitchens, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, mate, when I went into professional kitchens, I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself in for. You know, I'm still a baby in life now, but back when I first started, there wasn't really Instagram. Social media wasn't as big. So I had no idea what I was getting myself in for. I watched MasterChef and things like that. So when I really started doing 18-hour days, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days in a row, falling asleep on the pass in the middle of service, I didn't really know who I was. So I found an escape.
Okay, yeah, there's quite a few elements to that. I think what I'm keen to touch on first is,
of course,
this idea of purpose that you've alluded to.
Yeah.
And you said working in a kitchen. What does that actually entail? What's the first step for you? How did you even get into that? I know you said you were at a young age when you ventured into it. Was the mindset at first, okay, I'm just going to try something to earn a living and see how it goes? Or was that specifically always something that you wanted to get into?
Well, no, funnily enough, my A-level results weren't great. I'm not the most academic of people in the world. The only A I got in my GCSEs was in food tech. So my A-level results weren't great. I went to sign up for in my opinion, just a pointless course for me because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And the woman that was interviewing me said, "Oh, you got an A in food tech. Have you ever considered being a chef before?" So I thought, no, I haven't. And my cousin's a chef now. He's the only chef in the family. So I spoke to him And he was like, why not give it a go? I'm 7 years younger than him. So at the time it was a bit of a flippant conversation. So I put my GCSE results into Westminster Kingsway, got an apprenticeship at the Oxo Tower, and I kind of fell into it.
Well, it's an interesting point you mentioned there. Because I've started to think for a while, I don't know if it was the same for yourself necessarily, but a lot of the conversations I had at school it was all about university.
Yeah.
Like that was the only real option.
100%.
To do anything else, it didn't even cross your mind. It was just, right, you pick a subject, you go to university. Now, I've got my own opinions on that. I think some people, and I think they're in the minority, they know exactly what they're going to do from a young age. I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer. I think the majority of the time, when you're 18, with a brain that hasn't even fully developed, like you're not really going to know what you want to do with your life. And I remember thinking at the time, I think that if I were to do that, have that time in my life again, knowing what I do now, I wouldn't have chosen a degree. I would have probably, an apprenticeship sounds like a wicked way to gain some experience into the workforce. Now, I wouldn't change my experience because the university experience itself taught me so much about life.
Yeah.
And the experience is there. But it's interesting that you chose that option and you just thought, right, let's just give it a go. And I think sometimes you've just got to give something a go. If you don't know what your purpose is, just do something and you never really know where it leads to. What I'm keen to draw back on was, you mentioned the escapism there. So talk to me about that. Was it simply a case of, I've got all these emotions coming up for me, and I just don't know what to do with them? No one's really taught me how to process anything. Were you even thinking about it? Was it just kind of because it's usually obviously like I know to my experiences, or when I've observed it, it's been in like a party environment. So did you get exposed to it while in a sort of party setting, or was it more like a thing that it comes out of that and it's something that it transpires not from something you have now and then, but then perhaps every week or weekend, perhaps even daily at times? Was it that extreme?
Not so much that. It was a case of my friend was going to a rave in London Bridge, and he said, "Oh, have you ever tried this before?" I went, "No." And just for some context, so where I was doing all of these silly hours, and all of my school friends who I just lost touch with, just you go your separate ways. Where I was doing all of these silly hours, we just lost touch, and I didn't really have many friends. I was doing, again, so many hours. I'd sleep on my days off. I didn't really do much. And when I had time off, I would go out. And the stereotype of when chefs go out, carnage happens. Yeah, 2, 3, 4 times a week. I'd go out all night. I'd go back, sleep for an hour in the changing room sometimes, have a shower, put my chef whites on, and do another 16-hour shift, and then repeat. But going back to what you were saying, my friend was like, "Do you want to try this?" Oh, do you know what? I can't get any lower. And when I mean by get any lower, I didn't really get it. It's almost like when you're in a point where you feel a certain way for so long, it's become the norm. So I didn't really understand mental health. All I got was, Josh is doing hours, all the hours under the sun. He doesn't have any friends, no social life, no nothing. What's the worst that could happen? And I can get into that later because I have an interesting story about that.
Well, we can dive into that now. It was interesting. I was kind of putting myself in your shoes there, and I think sometimes we can underestimate how important connection is. I used to think, because my thing was I was so used to being independent and hyper independent. I thought, I don't need social connection. I don't need people. But then, no, like you do. And then I realized actually I do get a lot of social connection. I just haven't even registered, not taking it for granted, because I always appreciate the interactions I have, but it's just become a way of life. One example being the podcast, or when I train jiu-jitsu or when I do pro wrestling, and a lot of the things that I enjoy revolve around social interactions, but I hadn't put two and two together because I'd always associated friendship with going to the pub or doing something social, or at least what I thought was social. So the picture I'm getting is just a boy who's trying to make his way in the world and just longing for someone to connect with, really, and just to be with, really, just to be yourself, right?
That's it.
Did you try and make friends during that period, like at work, or was it not really a thing? Like, what methods did you try to? Because you've identified the problem. It sounds like you'd identified the problem at that stage. But what was did you have a solution, or was it just work?
I was quite a shy guy in the kitchen. Suffice to what people might say about me today, I'm a completely different human being, but I was very, very shy, very nervous, wasn't very sure of myself. And when you hear all these stories of you step out of line, you're going to get, can I swear?
Yeah.
You're going to get absolutely fucked and bollocked and things thrown at you. And you know, I have some horror stories of I'll do one quickly. I overcooked something in the middle of service at one of the places I've worked in that I haven't mentioned so far, because this was a bit later on. And my head chef threw a pan of hot oil at me with scallops in, and then threw me off service and made me clean the walk-in freezer for 2 hours without a coat on. Fun times. Wherever that was will remain nameless for obvious reasons. But not all places are like that. And I'm not tarring hospitality with the same brush, as I've mentioned. I loved being at Caravan. I loved it. I'd relive that over and over and over again. But just for some context, I was shy. I was scared. For me, it was fear of why I didn't try and mingle too much. It was survive or die, effectively, in my head.
I mean, yeah.
Not physically die, but you know what I mean.
No, but it was like, that's...
Yeah.
Like, you're living in a state of fear there, yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I would lay in bed at night, writing my prep list for the next day. And, you know, any hospitality worker or chef will say that, I know I'd wake up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'd hear the rationale oven beeping and going off. I'd hear the ticket machine going off. Yeah, everyone's seen the meme from Ramsay. Where's the lamb sauce? Literally, I'd wake up with dreams of, you know, someone shouting at me because I'd overcooked or I'd burnt something.
Wow.
It's So
there's a real dark side to this industry then.
There's a dark side to everything, really, but not many people see what it's like in hospitality now. It's an amazing career. You can, you know, you really could make something of yourself. But I really feel Instagram and all the social media side, they don't really show you like a day in the life. I look at some of them, and some of them are really accurate, but some of them I'm like, guys, you're not helping the younger than me. I'm still a baby. Younger generation, because I find that they come in and they don't want to work. They just want to be given. Yeah,
well, I think that's a whole other
conversation
about that balance.
100%. Yeah.
Again, these old school guys, they kind of tell you how it is in a way, and it kind of prepares you for their life. And there's a whole debate about this next generation, they don't want to work and lazy. So perhaps there is a balance there. But what you talked about before was that was some serious shit. So I presume at the time, because your self-esteem was quite low. So
didn't have any. I didn't know what I was.
So you kind of just accepted that as a norm?
Exactly. Spot on.
Wow. Did you tell anyone about this? Or what happened to this guy who, I mean, it's abuse really, isn't it? You're talking about here.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it is abuse. But again, it's still a little bit difficult for me to say because I'm to a degree still institutionalized, because it's what I would consider the norm. Because I've taken myself out of kitchens now, it's a bit like my mindset slowly starting to change. Yeah, I consulted my cousin. I asked him what was going on, and I spoke to a few other people. And if the general consensus was, if you're not in tears every single day when you're training and you want to quit, you're not doing the job properly because you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
Where'd you hear that from?
The people that I was speaking to when I was in that position. But I only spoke to old school guys, but this was when I was 19, 20. So I didn't really have a bigger picture.
Wow. So you really needed some great role models in your life, really, to kind of
didn't have any really. Professionally speaking, I didn't have any role models. I had plenty of sous chefs that took me under their wing and taught me, and they were good to me. Do I talk to any of them now? No. Would I consider any of them friends? Yes, I do. One of them is my best mate now, one of my very closest mates, but that's a different part of my career, and I'll get onto that a bit later on. But in my early stages, no. My senior sous chef, when I left the Oxo Tower, said to me this. We all had bets in the kitchen. This was on my last day when they gave me a present. We all made bets because we didn't think you'd make it through. That was the last thing my senior sous chef said to me before I left and went out into the big wide world. So whether I consciously realised it or not, why would I still remember that? It's like the teacher that would say to you at school, you will never amount to anything. Everyone has one of those. I'm not special. I had a science teacher like that. But what do people expect when that's the last thing you hear before you go out and then you end up doing 80, 90 hours a week?
Wow.
It's not motivational. It might be funny. And yes, hindsight, it was a way of them going, you know what, you did well done. But you've known me for nearly 3 years. You should know that won't sit well with me.
No, definitely not.
No.
No. Wow. It's crazy, isn't it? These lasting impressions people can have. And I've explored this because I think you could say the same thing, that exact quote or similar, to 2 different people, and they could react totally differently. So one could, if they're told that, they will use that as fuel to then go on, that's a motivator. Okay, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then, you go on to do all these amazing things. And you did all of that just to prove me wrong? Like, wow.
Yeah.
But then also someone might hear that and they might, just believe it and then think, oh yeah, they're right. Maybe this is who I am. It's, again, I suppose that's where it kind of comes down to us, really. It's, okay, right. These are our experiences. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And you mentioned institutionalized? I picked up on that. What do you mean by that?
So when you said to me, oh, that must be some form of abuse. And obviously the word abuse is quite an intense word. I mean, fortunately for me, I was about to say fortunate for me, I've never really been subjected to it. I have, but, it's almost like I'm used to the behavior because I'm like, it's needed, but it's not. You do sometimes need a bit of, harsh treatment to get the best out of people, but there's harsh treatment and then there's frying pans of hot oil and made to clean a walk-in freezer for 2 hours with no coat kind of treatment. There's a difference.
Again, it's just wild to me being in that position, and I wonder how many other people are in a similar position in any aspect of life, and yet they think that's just the norm.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this person told me to do this. Like, damn, yeah, crazy. Okay, so you have this experience, and then your mindset at this point, is it just to keep on getting through, continuing on, trying your best? Have you sort of pushed down the friendship, the aim, the goal of finding connections? Did you push that down to then pursue this venture? Talk to me about where you went on from there.
So I'm currently, so what do you mean where I've moved on from where I got up to?
Yeah, so the picture I had was essentially that, you've got a lack of connection in your life. You want that, but then you're also just trudging through.
Yeah.
Looking to, I say, graduate or pass, get through essentially this first period. So then after that, then did you continue pushing on? Was it still a career focus, or did you push that connection focus into your forefront, or was it a bit of both?
No, it's very much so. It was still very, very much career driven. So, you know, when I left Caravan, I moved on to other places. I did some gastropubs, some private members clubs, and it was very, very much career driven. And did I want my own place? No. Did I want to be head chef somewhere? Yes. I got to senior sous level before I left the industry. And that story for later or for whenever was the tipping point for me, mental health wise. But then when I went to work at one of the gastropubs that I worked in after Caravan was where I met my best mate now, who's moved down from Manchester with his girlfriend and lives around the corner.
Okay.
You're talking mentors in my life. Not only was he a good guy in the kitchen, but also out of the kitchen. And my head chef there, who those two are friends as well, good guy, really nice guy, would look after me in and out of the kitchen. And I think that was probably, apart from Caravan, the first time in my life where I was like, oh wow, there are some good people out there. There are some good people that are willing to do anything they can for you as long as you show that you want to learn and you want to progress, because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I can imagine that's a shock to your belief system in a way. Oh, wait, there actually are people who see me and actually want to help me, and they're good people in the world. And I think when you first get access to that, it can do really great things. It kind of inspires you in a way. I kind of had that feeling with a lot of friendships as well. You know, I used to think, okay, well, this is just what friends are like. Well, I didn't. Whereas actually, when I found those real connections, I was like, oh yeah, this is more like an actual, this is where, you know, it's like reciprocated energy, and okay, this actually exists. It is a bit of a shock to the system, and it sounds like they had a huge impact on your life. But you said before then, there was a tipping point for you. Talk to me about that.
So there were two. The main tipping point mental health wise came 3 years ago, but the one that stopped me from taking anything was going back to, I thought you was my friend, clearly you're not. Went to Fabric one night after work. It's quite a common thing for us to do back then, and had MDMA in a water bottle. Didn't have much in the water bottle. There was probably, I don't know, that much in there. And put some in, drank it. Nothing really much going on. The guy that got the stuff kind of turned me around and just held on to me and just poured half of his bottle down me. Going, now you'll feel it. I didn't know what was going on. No idea what was going on. And the next thing I knew, I started to hallucinate. Even ironically, MDMA is not really a hallucinogen. I'm sure people will correct me, but this is what I saw. And it sounds quite amusing. So I remember this clear as day. The whole room started to spin. There were little Oompa Loompas running around, which looking back is quite amusing. And then I passed out. And then I just proceeded to projectile vomit all over the floor. got taken outside into the fresh air. I was just projectile vomiting everywhere. And then I was taken into the medical room. And they couldn't control my heart. My heart was pounding. When I eventually came around about 5 hours later, they said to me that you were very, very close to having a heart attack, and we wouldn't be calling an ambulance, we'd be calling the morgue. And that's when I knew. That is when I knew. My dad picked me up, because he's a cab driver. He picked me up, took me home, and I hadn't touched anything like that ever since. And that was maybe 11, 12 years ago. So that was one tipping point. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Sometimes you need a moment like that just to really shake you out, wake you up a bit, right?
Not off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine it's quite a frightening experience at the time, you know, when you're not in control of what's going on and you're just in a different world.
1 out of 5 on TripAdvisor. Would not recommend. Would not recommend.
Yeah, okay. And what was you mentioned your dad picked you up. So was he aware all of this was happening? Were you quite open with him about your experiences beforehand, or was that kind of relationship, was it a different type of relationship, do you think?
He knew I smoked weed. I got in the back of the cab and he said to me, what the fuck are wrong with your eyes? They look like dinner plates. They look like saucers. What's wrong with your eyes? I was like, we were just smoking, whatever. And because my eyes are blue, I can't hide anything. So that was it. Yeah, I didn't say much else after that. The following day, I was sat on the sofa at home, obviously I was on a come down and really paranoid, thinking everything and everyone was cut out to get me. I was sat wrapped in a duvet, rocking backwards and forwards, like, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, he was none the wiser, as far as I'm aware. He's not stupid. He must have known something had happened, but he didn't press me.
Okay, so you decide then, right, enough of this. Let's get our shit together. Talk to me about that. Was it a definitive moment in your mind? You were like, right, whatever it takes, we're just going to figure out a way through this. What did that... I presume at this point you hadn't had much of an idea of what a healing process would look like.
No.
So where do you go from there?
Well, I went back into work a few days later, and you know what? I've got nothing to hide. This, I'm all about honesty these days. You see what you get with me. Yeah, so I saw the guy that poured it down my neck. So I worked in the same kitchen as him. So I went back into the kitchen, and everyone started laughing. The whole kitchen started laughing because of whatever they got told whilst I was off, which I didn't know. I still, to this day, I don't know what that was. So I grabbed hold of him round the neck and I jumped on him, and I had to be dragged off. I won't say any more than that. This was 12 years ago. I'm not that person anymore, but your whole environment, everyone you thought were your friends, just laughing. Not like, ha ha, oh, that was quite funny, like hysterically laughing at you. And yeah, I couldn't process that, and I just lost my shit. I left soon after. My time was ready. I was ready to leave anyway, but after that I was like, nah, this surely can't be it.
And do you know what? I really love that story in a way, even though I really resonated with that, that feeling of just like, well, like just that feeling of being, like the shame you might feel and like all sorts of emotions coming up.
Yeah. I
still love, because at that moment you're like, it's kind of, again, there's a bit of a shift there. It's, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm not Like, and yes, it might be uncontrollable, but it's still like, and you mentioned something there. You're just done. Like, no, this can't be it. Surely I'm worth more than whatever the fuck this is. And that is, I think that's a crucial part in the man's journey, actually. It's actually going, you know what? Why am I hanging around these people?
Yeah.
I deserve more than this. So that is, I think that's a really fundamental switch that took place there. So that, I think, from the sounds of it, that was a really instrumental moment for you.
One of, yeah. I've had a few.
Shall we go into that then? You said there's a few.
Yeah, sure. So then for me it was 2022. Again, up and down with my mental health. Realizing this later, my wife said, "You're very much like a magpie," where every time I had some issues where I didn't like the place, everyone would say, "Oh, don't worry, you just go to another place. It will be better. It will be better." But my wife, the extremely intelligent woman that she is, has figured out that, again, I'm a magpie. If something's shiny and new, you'll enjoy it. But the period of time you enjoyed it got shorter and shorter and shorter. And you may have heard the thing of, if you don't say something out loud, then it's not true. I wanted to get out of the kitchen for years, but I was too scared to say, I don't want to do this anymore, because I had no get out. I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So I kept it, and it was eating me up. And it was eating me up for years and years and years. And I put myself into therapy. I
just want to touch on that quickly, because
Yeah.
I think for a lot of men, there's a lot of resistance to do that.
Yeah.
So you found out about therapy. So did it get to a point where you just knew that you needed it? Was there resistance to going in the first place?
100%. So I've been in therapy for 4 separate occasions. One at the moment now, because of my qualifications, which I'll get onto later. It's just a form of supervision where you discuss with a more experienced therapist of, how to build your practice, notes with your clients, how you can basically learn to help your clients. So, but the other 3 times have been for me. So one was for family things with a member of my family who I don't get on with. I'm not afraid to say that, because people that know me well will know who I'm talking about. So for context, my grandmother died when I was 13. I loved her to pieces. And I feel like even today I'm still grieving her death. And my grandfather, who is the person I'm talking about, I feel like I'm grieving someone that's not dead. So it's a case of, he was one way before he met my grandmother. And then, didn't think I'd be talking about this today. Funny that. And then my grandparents got married, and then she schooled him, according to my nan, to be a nicer person. But when she died, a part of me died as well. And I was only 13, but I feel like a part of me died with her. And he just has ended up being the person he was before they met. So I'm not left with my grandfather anymore. I'm left with the person, the name, right? And I feel like I'm grieving someone that's not dead. So that was the first time I went into therapy. And yes, there was a massive stigmatism. Really, I thought, therapy? There's nothing wrong with me. Why do I need to go into therapy? There was a stigmatism behind it. A friend of mine who was also a therapist said, why don't you try that? I said, well, how will I know who to speak to? He went, ring around and you'll just know. You just know when you meet someone, there's a feeling in your gut. You just know you're the person for me. So that was the first time I went into therapy. But yeah, there was a huge stigmatism behind it. I was very much against it at the time. Very much against it.
Yeah, there are quite a few elements there. It sounds like you needed someone to kind of give you a push in that direction.
Yeah.
Again, ties back to what we were talking about before. with surrounding yourself by good people who want the
100%.
best for you.
Yeah.
And that's all you were craving all along. And it's like a part of you even knew.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There's an epiphany live whilst we're recording. There you go.
Well, it's like your soul knows what it's your soul's wise, you know, it knows what you want to get out of life. And it's going to keep on, screaming. It's going to keep on telling you, come on. And then eventually they'll reach a breaking point where this truth just has to come out because it's your truth, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then, you mentioned stuff there. And again, that's a great example, you know, when you were 13, such a big loss in your life, someone who you connected with so well.
Yeah.
I resonate with that in terms of my grandma. She's, she's everything for me, for sure.
Hold on to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, again, it makes me think just all these different things when people say, I don't need therapy, I don't need that. It's like, man, the whole of humankind needs therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's one person who would not benefit. Even if you're in a great place in your life, or at least you think you're in a great place, that's the best time to do it. Yes, at least in my view. So I think it gets to a point where you kind of need to be pushed, and it also needs to come out of yourself as well. Okay, and so I imagine as you're doing more therapy, you find out more answers for yourself, you find out who you are, and it sounds like, again, that moment of leaving the toxic environment, it sounds like it coincides with that in a way in terms of like building self-worth, and so starting to think about what you want for once. So was that, did you find that your external reality started to shift with the therapy, perhaps more aligned opportunities? You mentioned more aligned connections. So I guess I'm interested to hear about the parallels between those. When did these good people actually start coming into your life? Was it when you changed your environment? Was it when you started to do therapy? A bit of both. I'm interested to find out, the specifics about, your comeback, if you like.
Well, the first time I went into therapy, again, I can't actually remember what year that was. It was quite an isolated incident, but the most important person in my life at that time that came to me probably when I most needed it was my now wife. And I'm a very big believer in karma and what goes around comes around. But I'm also a big believer, and this is my own belief, that my grandma couldn't be here with me. So she gave me my wife. I'm a massive believer in that. And it's a shame that she can't be here to see her. But I really, really believe there's a reason why she's with me and is stuck with me through thick and thin. And we're talking about sometimes you need some guidance and people around you. When I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2016, she was at uni in Colchester at the time. And bless her, I just met her. She would get on a train, then a bus, sit with me in the hospital all day, and then go maybe 7 odd hours, and then go back to Colchester. Bus, train, back. Oh, wow. Just met you. I think it was, we'd only been together maybe a year. So that, for her, for me, you said the start of my comeback. She is the reason why I'm sat on this sofa. I had a great childhood. I never went without. My parents were amazing. I had some amazing family around me. I still do. And amazing friends around me. But she is the reason why I'm still sat here. And the reason why I've got a lovely daughter. So the connection is so important. It's so underrated. Guidance. I couldn't find it professionally. for a short period of time. So I looked outward.
Yeah, well, she sounds like your ride or die, really.
100%. There are times we want to kill each other, but that's completely normal. But I'd be completely lost without her.
And yeah, you touched upon quite a few things there that she was kind of sent in a way by grandma. I love that. I love that idea. My personal belief is I think everyone's still with us at all times. Like whenever we're kind of open to seeing that. But yeah, I want to hear about the coming of you two coming together, and how you kind of feel your sort of grandma's influence in a way, and the influence, and then you meeting your now wife. Were you kind of searching for a relationship at that time, or did it all kind of transpire naturally?
Well, no. I very much wanted to I'm Jewish, so I wanted to find a Jewish wife. And you know, my parents were surprised I ended up with a Jewish girlfriend because of hospitality, all the waitresses, the front of house and whatnot. They just weren't Jewish, because it's such a small community that we've got. And I wanted to have a Jewish wife because I want my family to be Jewish, I want my children to be Jewish, because I'm proud of where I've come from and I want to continue that. It's just my preference, you know. I reckon if I wasn't Jewish, I think I probably would have had a wife that's not English. So I love meeting people from all over the place. You were in hospitality for years. I've got a lot of Italian. I seem to collect Italians. One of my good friends is Italian. I love her to pieces as well. I've known her for maybe 8 years now. So I just, like I said, I collect different nationalities or whatever. But for me, I'm going on a ramble. So what was you asking?
Well, it was how you met her. And
yeah, so I met her online effectively, and I was going to give up my membership, but then I kept scrolling past her profile, and I thought, I waited and waited, and again, I just thought, And the reason why was because still remember this picture. She had long brown hair with an ombre. Again, when she hears this, she'll laugh, but the hair just looked amazing. And it just drew me to her, the red hair as well. Not real, sorry about that. So I thought, you know what, I'll renew for 1 month just to message her. And the rest is history.
Kind of had that pull. It's interesting you mentioned that, because I've always, with dating apps as well, it's a whole other conversation.
Oh, don't even go there. I'm so glad I don't have to do all of that.
Yeah. Seriously, but it makes sense in terms of the Jewish element, because I've got again Jewish friends who will say, yeah, they've got to be Jewish. I'm like, there's quite a small portion of people that actually you have to,
it's close knit,
choose from. Yeah,
close knit.
Yeah, definitely so. Wow, yeah. I mean, what a great. Sounds really powerful when you mentioned you got an 8-month-old as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Is that what, first time being a father?
Yeah, first time.
How's that treating you?
I don't recommend the newborn phase. I don't recommend the sleep deprivation. It's completely different to sleep deprivation when you're working, because 3 or 4 hours sleep is okay, but when you're being woken up every half an hour, every 45 minutes, and it was way harsher, obviously, on my wife, who had to breastfeed her and whatnot, but it was hard. And one thing I just want to highlight as well, postpartum depression, wake up, guys. It happens in men as well. And the thing that really, really brought that to my attention was the midwife came round and she was talking about it. And she said, you men can get it. I went, what do you mean men can get it? Postpartum? I didn't give birth. She went, it doesn't matter. The chemicals in your brain have changed. And I didn't think about it, because you've gone from a carer to a caregiver. Obviously not as much as my wife, because women they're born to to be mothers and to nurture. Whether they choose to be mothers is a different conversation, but their body's programmed for that. For me personally, it's taken me a long time to really, really get to grips with fatherhood. And yeah, postpartum depression was kicking my arse royally. I'm not afraid to admit that. It's been hard. It's not been easy. In the past, however many months, I've been in tears 20, 30, 40 times, just randomly. I could be playing with her, cry. Listen to a piece of music, cry.
And it's, for you, it's linked to her entering your life. What do you think? What do you think triggers that? Do you have you explored a lot of this since hearing about it, and how does that play out?
Because I think for me, it's a case of, and I've had many conversations like this with my wife. It's a case of, that's it. You go to the hospital as a 2, you come home as a 3 or a 4 or a 5, however many you haven't. No one gives you an instruction manual. No one tells you what to do. No, you have to, and I am one of these people, I learn by doing, right? But you're going in blind, and there are so many elements to it. One of the big things for me is mourning my past life. You can't go out anymore without packing 100 things. You've got this little ball of magic that you not have to, but you do have to do this. But I use the term, I get to do this. I get to look after her. I get to give her cuddles. Her smile makes me melt. I can't even comprehend, or I can't even think of the words.
Well, it's
to put into words,
it's a transition, right?
Yeah, to put into words how much I love her. You know, I'm doing this like she sat next to me. But it's not so much the physical aspect. It's what's going on mentally. And for me personally, I don't have any siblings. My wife doesn't have any siblings. My whole life has been my parents and myself. And then I got together with my wife. And my wife and I were a team, and we still are a team. But now there's something in our lives that she needs to put her attention on. And unconsciously or not, I think I had a delayed reaction to, now I finally get when a 4-year-old has a younger sibling and then they get jealous. Why is your attention on them? Hi, I'm over here. I'm 32 years old, and it sounds wacky, but for me, I think that's just how I felt. You know, I'm having a breakdown here. Like, acknowledge me. It's not been easy.
Yeah, and again, I think this is where the element of community is so important, in connections, because especially for men, like, you need your tribe, you need your men to be able to speak about this stuff with, because especially being a father, you have to be that strong base, and you're the one who holds the whole family together. So this is where I believe we need men in our lives, you know, where we can be vulnerable and we can offload to, and having that support network that has been so important for you in your life. And I appreciate the rawness of all of that, because you know, I think we can refrain from talking about this stuff, right? Because you think, poor you, you know, you're not the one who's giving birth, you're not the, but it's like, no, like, that's very real what you're feeling. And I think sometimes as men, there's almost, there can be a bit of a shame. It's like, I shouldn't be feeling like this, and but it's real. It's true. I can feel that for you. I can feel that, and I just think it's awesome actually that you've got to a place where not only you have a great wife, but you have a kid as well. You're able to be a dad. This is despite all the challenges that you faced in your life, and I think your journey's been super, super inspiring. Real eye opener. You mentioned Crohn's disease there as well. How's that going? Talk to me a bit about that journey, because that's another thing which I imagine hearing about that the first time, that would have shifted things. So what's that journey been like for you, and how is it all now?
Well, luckily for me, I'm in remission. It's a condition that can't be cured. There is no scientific evidence to why it happens, as far as I'm aware. Maybe that's progressed on and they might be doing research, but as far as I'm aware, there's no cure for it. Effectively for me, it means the lower part of my large intestine is permanently inflamed. So I take medication and I'd have to take it for the rest of my life. I say have to if I want to stay in remission, but you know, I could stop at any point, but it's under control and I'm happy. There are things that I can't do. I don't really drink beer. If I drink too much, I don't really drink much anymore these days anyway, but if I drink too much, I'll know about it for a couple of days after. So I've just got to be careful. I've got to be sensible. But in the kitchen, that was hard. No one knows what it is, or no one knew what it was back then. Oh, you've got IBS. Oh, you've got a bit of a dicky tummy. Oh, it's fine. There were times where if I had a flare up in the kitchen, so in my case, if I have a Crohn's flare up, I can't move. I can't get up because it's like stabbing pains in your stomach. The side effects are your joints hurt. You know, I have to get checked for brittle bone syndrome because of the ligaments and are inflamed and things like that. It's not just a pain in your stomach, but because people can't see it, and that's again the thing with mental health, because you can't see something, it's not there. And it circles back to what I was saying before of the whole thing with I don't want to be a chef anymore. Because you don't spell it out to people, they assume it's not there and you're just being dramatic. I was left on the floor in the kitchen many, many times where I couldn't move and I was just left on the floor. On the floor. Because they thought I was being dramatic.
Sounds like we need more Crohn's awareness going on by the sounds of it.
The Crohn's and Colitis UK do brilliant work. Few years ago, my wife did the Vitality 10K for Crohn's and Colitis UK. So again, circles back to what I was saying before. Don't really have to say much more on that.
That's beautiful.
And so luckily for me, I'm in remission. A very, very good friend of mine's sister has to have blood transfusions. And my best friend, whose sister is, she's very, very, very important person in my life. Super supportive. I've known her for, 17 years this year. Again, the theme of connection, the theme of having good people around you, super important. Super important. Most of the people in my life, funnily enough, are women. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, that's why everyone said to me, oh, you'll be a great girl dad. You're a great girl dad. I always wanted a son. I don't know why, I just did. I think it's just a guy thing. As soon as I found out I was having a daughter, I was like, oh, mate, this is going to be great. I can relive my childhood. Disney films, Dens, Disney on Ice. It'd be great fun. Absolutely amazing. And if I had another kid, it'd be nice to have another daughter. Just be surrounded by women. Because I'm naturally emotional and naturally quite a sensitive guy, I always found that it was easier to open up to women.
Stay.
Guys are the bravado, and most of the time some of them can be full of shit, not because that's how they are, but it's because of what they're trying to project. And I felt more comfortable speaking to women personally. It's not so much these days, but when I was at my most vulnerable.
Yes, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because it's only as you go through life, you build up more self-esteem, build up more confidence, you're going to attract more of the same people. You don't have to project. So it makes sense. A lot of your earlier experiences, you have that image. It was similar for me in a way, in the sense that, I had a lot of trust issues, and also being very sensitive to people, to energy. And I imagine, it just enhances everything that you've discussed just now, all your experiences, being sensitive, with this idea of men aren't perhaps supposed to be sensitive, we're not supposed to show emotion, and yet being that person in a toxic environment, man, that's tough. It's tricky. So I really feel everything that you've been through. I really feel it. Yeah, it's, again, I like to think times are changing now. Times are changing. But I think your whole journey has just been just a great arc. I love the journey that you've been on, from that, because I can feel it, man. I can feel that shift, and the difference between like where you're at now versus there. I really feel that, and I think you're certainly an inspiration, and now you're helping other people.
Yeah.
So I'm keen to hear about the transition from all you've known, from from food, from restaurant, from that space, which I imagine formed part of your identity, and now you've gone on to do something else. So I'd love to touch upon that shift, and what you're doing now, how that's all transpired. Yeah.
Well, so just to finish up with the kitchen, which is the culmination of going on to what we're going to talk about next, was 2023 was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was in my last full-time job, and I'd hit rock bottom. I'd sit at my table every morning, eating my breakfast and I'd just sit there with a paring knife, and I'd just have it next to me, and I'd just be like, would it even matter if I was here anymore? Does anybody even care? I signed up to do 45 hours. Again, I was doing silly hours. My locker got vandalized with anti-Semitism. I'd be experiencing things whilst I was out on my break. What I'd be seeing happening to others. People being spat at, things being thrown at them. And naturally, even though they're not happening to you when you're in that headspace, it was not fun. And it just culminated into one massive blowout. One day at work, me being ripped apart from head to toe by my boss.
But verbally?
Yeah. And I won't go into too much detail, but my friend was like, you've got to get out. My family said, you've got to get out. My friend my cousin who's a chef, I was talking to him, he's like, mate, I've never seen you like this. You need to leave, and you need to leave now. So my friend came round, a supremely intelligent guy, wrote me a letter. A resignation letter. I went to the doctor, got signed off. I went into work after my days off. How's everything? Yeah, everything's cool. I went back in. It was a Tuesday night. It was quiet. And I pretended everything was fine. As I had done. Pretended everything was fine. Did the orders. Finished the service. In between quiet periods, I was emptying out my locker. Just emptying out my locker. Then after that, the service had finished. Packed up my stuff. Left my letter of resignation, my doctor's note on the pass, and I never went back. And one of the only things that kept me sane, my junior sous chef, who is still pally with to this day, who's still a good friend of mine, her and her boyfriend, she kept me sane. To a point, she kept me alive. So, love to Georgia. Good people, connections, when you needed it, when I needed it the most. And there wasn't many. She was one of the very few. Another thing that kept me going were dogs. Funny enough, there was a girl, an architect who used to walk her dog Archie in not far from where I worked. And on my break, I'd play fetch with him. 11-month-old spaniel. Great fun. Dogs are great. And it's the best part of my day. There were times where I'd miss my train because I'd be playing fetch, and I'd get home, my wife would be like, "Why are you late?" And I just had to say one word. And she went, "What? Was it Archie again?" I'm like, "Yeah, sorry about that." And that was cool. That was fun. But yeah, I left there. And I went back into therapy. This was for the second time. No, this was for the third time. And my therapist at the time taught at a school called Quest Institute at Regent's University. The best decision of my life. I've always been fascinated with the mind. I even asked her about it in my previous time I was in therapy with her. How do I apply? She told me some details. I went straight in. I left my place in November. I signed up in December. I worked all the way through. I graduated in May of last year. And it was the best decision of my life. The best decision. Phenomenal people there. You're talking about finding your tribe. I found my tribe. I found my people. And I've never ever looked back. I found my people. This career for me now is not a job. It's not a job. It's not work. It's only work if you don't like it. I love what I do. I love being able to help people. I want to be able to help people that feel like they've got nowhere else to turn to. They want to try something different because they've tried everything else, you know. And it's a calling for me. I just want to help as many people as I can. I want to be there. I want to be their lifeline. I want to be someone that has that purpose. You have to have purpose in life. For me personally, you've got to. If you've got no purpose, what have you got? What drives you? What motivates you? I say to people when they come and work with me, you need to be willing, and the want needs to be there. If I could give you some of my motivation and drive, I would. But guys, look, you're looking at, if people say, you say in business, what's your USP? What's your selling point? You know, what is your call to action? You're looking at it. I am my USP. I am my call to action. I wouldn't be sat here without people. People that I didn't expect. That midwife telling me about postpartum depression and me thinking, shit, maybe that's what I've got. And it's what I had. People are willing to help you if you ask. And in a way, it feeds their ego because everyone has an ego. No matter how pure you are, everyone has an ego. No, everyone enjoys doing a good deed, right? But give people a chance. There are good people out there. There are tremendous people out there. Yes, I'm a hypnotherapist, but I don't hypnotize people. There are hypnotists, but I don't hypnotize people. It's very much like this. It's a conversation. It's very much a conversation. Don't you put people into trance? Yeah, but a trance-like state's not an out of ordinary term. Trance-like state could be anything. We're in a trance now. We're having a conversation. Someone could have been run over outside. I wouldn't have any idea. We're in a conversation. This is a trance-like state. Being in autopilot, when you get up in the morning, you don't think about what you're doing. You don't go left, right, I'm going to pick this up now. That's autopilot. That's what a trance is. You wonder, you're scrolling through your phone. Oh, I've been looking at my phone for 2 hours. That's a trance. Standing up on stage and making a speech. That's a trance. You don't stand there and go, right, my hands are going to sweat. My breathing's going to get faster. That's your unconscious mind hijacking your conscious mind. And what I do is I help people train their unconscious mind to train their conscious mind so they do things without thinking about it. So when they used to get panic attacks, their unconscious goes, you don't need to do that anymore. You're okay. Because you can do this instead.
I can feel the fire in your voice. And yeah, it's important work that you're doing. And again, it reminds me that, yeah, your biggest pain ends up becoming your biggest purpose.
100%.
Yeah.
If I saw my old boss now, I'd probably say thank you, because we're talking about the journey and the reason for why I do what I do. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I would say thank you, because without that horrific experience, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And this is what was born to do.
Yes. Yeah. Fuck yeah. And as you've alluded to, sometimes you need things in your life to disappear for something new to enter in. I love how seamless it's happened for you. And yeah, it'll stem from your desire for change, for something different, and believing that, yeah, you're worth more. You're worth a hell of a lot more. So yeah, so many lessons in this one. It's been a real pleasure. What we can do, we could hop into our closing traditions of the podcast. We've got 3 questions. The first 2 are routine. They're asked every week. And then a third question is asked by one of the Growth Voyage podcast listeners.
Okay.
They don't always know who the guest is, though.
Okay.
First one, nice and simple, but it's a song recommendation for the audience.
Song recommendation. Oh, I don't know what it is, but I love Piano Man by Billy Joel. I think it's great.
Fantastic. Yeah, we'll add that to the Growth Voyage playlist. Second one, it's a book recommendation.
Oh, I'm reading a book at the moment called Let Them by Mel Robbins. That's a brilliant book. But that for me is amazing. There's another one by a guy called Mark Manson. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Again, some people may know it. That's brilliant as well. You sit there and you go, I do that. Oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me. And yeah, it's great. So there's 2 right there.
Brilliant. Yeah. Especially Mark Manson's one is a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been recommended quite a few times before. And yeah, sometimes it is just the basics. We just need to be told like straight up, right? Yeah. Wicked. And yeah, it's the types of books really that we need to read earlier on in our journey when possible.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, just as soon as you read them, it's different perspective.
Yeah.
Again, and that's what perhaps you needed back when you were younger, a different perspective on the world, what's possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking about your younger self, we've got a question here, our final question, and it comes in from Shannon, who asks, if you could go back to the start of your journey, what would you tell yourself?
Eat what you can and leave the rest. And what I mean by that is, don't try and do everything at once. It goes back to when parents try and get their kids to eat their dinner. Just eat what you can there. And then if you eat this and you have some of your greens, then you can have dessert. Sometimes you don't need to try and do absolutely everything to get the sweet thing or the reward at the end of the day. At the end of the day, your plate doesn't get any bigger from the end of December to the start of January. So if you want to pick up something new, you got to drop something else. Eat what you can and leave the rest. Do whatever you can during the day and finish whatever it was the next day. Works quite well for an ex-chef, that one.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, I resonate with that. Comes down to priorities in a way. And
yeah.
Not always easy.
No, it's not. Still every day is a school day.
100%, brother. Yeah, Josh, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for being so open, being so vulnerable, sharing your sharing your story. I think it's, again, an inspiration to many. Where can people find you if they want to connect and continue the conversation and find out about the work that you do?
So I'm on LinkedIn, is where I'm most active. Joshua Samuels. I'm a cognitive hypnotherapist. I'm on Instagram as well, at Josh Does Therapy, and my website is joshdoestherapy.com.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll put all of these in the description. Thanks, brother.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.